Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on, where you are in this world. God bless you. This is Gloria White and the Annie Dog coming to you from Utah, USA. And God bless each and every one of you. Today, as I told you, I'm going to be reading the translator's letter to the reader, the ones that translated the Hebrew and Latin and Greek into the Holy Bible, the 1611 edition, the King James Version. The King James. Zeal to promote the common good, whether it be by devising anything ourselves or revising that which hath been labored by others, deserveth certainly much respect and esteem, but yet findeth but cold entertainment in the world. It is welcomed with suspicion instead of love, and with emulation instead of thanks. And if there be any hole left for call to enter, and call is, I think, all, like the tool you would use to punch a nail hole. If it does not find a hole, will make one. It is sure to be misconstrued, and endangered to be condemned. This will easily be granted by as many as know story or have experience. For was there ever anything projected that savored any way of newness or renewing, but the same endured many a storm of gainsaying or opposition? A man would think that civility, wholesome laws, learning and eloquence, synods, and church maintenance, that we speak of no more things of this kind, should be as safe as a sanctuary, but out of shot, as they say, that no man would lift up the heel, no, nor dog move his tongue against the motioners of them. For by the first we are distinguished from brute beast, led with sensuality, but the second we are bridled and restrained from outrageous behavior, and from doing injuries, whether by fraud or by violence. By the third we are enabled to inform and reform others by the light and feeling that we have attained unto ourselves. Briefly, by the fourth being brought together to a parle face to face, we sooner compose our differences than by writings which are endless. And lastly, the church be sufficiently provided for, is so agreeable to good reason and conscience, that those mothers are holden to less cruel, that kill their children as soon as they are born, than those nourishing fathers and mothers, whosoever they be, that withdraw from them who hang upon their breast, and upon those breasts again themselves do hang, to receive the spiritual and sincere milk of the word, livelihood and support fit for their estates. Thus it is apparent that these things which we speak of are most necessary use, and therefore that none, either without absurdity, can speak against them, or without note of wickedness can spur against them. Yet for all that, the learned know that certain worthy men have been brought to untimely death for none other fault but for seeking to reduce their countrymen to good order and discipline, and that in some commonwealths it was made a capital crime once to motion the making of a new law for abrogating of an old, though the same were most pernicious, and that certain would be counted pillars of the state and patterns of virtue and prudence, could not be brought for a long time to give way to good letters and refined speech, but bear themselves as averse from them, as from rocks or boxes of poison. And fourthly, that he was no babe, but a great clerk, that gave forth in writing to remain to posterity, in passion peradventure. But yet he gave forth that he had not seen any prophet to come by any synod, or meeting of the clergy, but rather the contrary. And lastly, against church maintenance and allowance, in such sort as the ambassadors and messengers of the great King of Kings should be furnished. It is not unknown what a fiction or fable, so it is esteemed, and for no better, by the reporter himself, through superstitious, was devised, namely, that at such time as the professors and teachers of Christianity and the Church of Rome, then a true church, were liberally endowed, a voice forsook was heard from heaven, saying, Now is poison poured down into the church. Thus not only as oft as we speak, as one saith, but also as oft as we do anything, or note, or consequence, we subject ourselves to every one's censure, and happy is he that is least tossed upon tongues. For utterly to escape the snatch of them it is impossible. If any man conceit that this is the lot or portion of the meaner sort only, and that princes are privileged by their high estate, he is deceived. As the sword devoureth as well one as the other, and as it is in Samuel, nay, as the great commander charged his soldiers in a certain battle to strike at no part of the enemy, but at the face. And as the king of Syria commanded his chief captains to fight neither with small nor great, save only against the king of Israel, so it is too true that envy striketh most spitefully at the fairest and at the chiefest. David was a worthy prince, and no man to be compared to him for his first deeds, and yet for as worthy an act as ever he did, even for bringing back the ark of God in solemnity, he was scorned and scoffed at by his own wife. Solomon was greater than David, though not in virtue, yet in power. And his power and wisdom he built a temple to the Lord, such as one as was the glory of the land of Israel, and the wonder of the whole world. But was that his magnificent liked by all? We doubt of it. Otherwise, why doth they lay it in his son's dish, and call unto him for easing of the burden? Make, say they, the grievous servitude of thy father and his sore yoke lighter. Belike he had charged them with some levies, and troubled them with some carriages. Hereupon they raise up a tragedy, and wish in their heart the temple had never been built. So hard a thing it is to please all, even when we please God best, and do seek to approve ourselves to every one's conscience. And I'm gonna stop there. And the beginning is a little rough to get through, but it gets so much better. So please don't tune out, because this was kind of, what were they saying? What did they mean? They were saying that even though they did this great work, that there were ones that scoffed at it. and made fun or thought it was, terrible. And anyway, so now we're getting in the good part. And so I encourage you to come back for tomorrow for when I pick up and start reading some more of it. And as always, I love you.